Welcome back. We'll pick up a little bit from where we left off. So we have the Dwarven Barbarian character as a base template I'm playing around with here. Have a little spinning disc. And, when needed, I can go down here and work flat on the desk. So I think audio video is working pretty good. Yeah, yeah. All right. So I think layering clothing on is the next step, but before I quite get there, I just wanted to go back over here to the anatomy section. The back, like anything you're not going to see, you just need a close approximation. So don't feel like, with a lot of this stuff, that you have to have super finished, refined anatomy. I think that's definitely nice to have, but it's not necessary. Don't worry about it. And I think having things even and measured out. Remember, you could just plumb line with any object or stick. You're measuring the sides on things. And just making sure that we know where all the major landmarks are. So we have the trapezius muscles up here and here, and see how much my cat got into stuff lately. I can rake some of this a little bit more even. If I'm worried about the clothes laying on the shoulders, he has a pretty good size uh, bear's fur cloak that we made in one of the previous videos. So again, it's got foil underneath. If I wanted to, I could get my little cup of wax and melt it and just brush it right on there just to cover the foil completely. But for use the essence and keep this thing rolling, we're just going to go forward. So I'm covering all the way up here. So I'm going to see his deltoids, please. But on top of the cloak, we also have this metal plate, and I had started doing some armor plating for him. And one of the things to mention there for most any plating, any armor that's metal, especially, there's going to be layers. So it's not just going to be metal directly up against your skin, right? You're going to be padded. There's padding on top of that, and then usually leather on top of that. So kind of knowing that, knowing where your buckles and straps are going to be, like how the harness is going to attach on there is important. We can lay out the garments and figure some of that stuff out. I have all kinds of charts in front of me, so I do have your reference. That is incredibly important to have that up, and you're checking it constantly. You're always thinking when doing this, and it could be meditative. You can be relaxed and chill, but you also want to be on point and make sure that you're not kind of floating off and maybe working an area that you should be safe for another day. It happens a lot, right? And I have my little Ecochet sculpture over here that I ordered online some years ago. Not the best sculpturist, that's why I don't really promote this particular one that I got. But yeah, so get in here and just start raking all the main muscles and getting the directionality. I'm actually looking at the sinew of the muscles here, the ecrochet, the half that has skin. Remember, ecrochet means flayed man in French. And so if I can get the rake directionality to actually follow the direction of the actual muscle sinew, that helps a lot too. So I'll go through and I would rake this whole thing down. And I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. We'll see if I can follow my own advice here. It's hard. At this stage, it's a lot of raking, so we're gone through the design process, but this is where the magic happens. This is where, that last, when you're doing 3, 4, 5 hours and, making sure, everyone's being careful and taking breaks, that, taking the time to get this all raked down. Now, once I get done with any of this raking, I'm happy with it. And uh, I do have my container of clay strips all ready to rock and roll over here. But if I'm happy with it, you could just, we're in the summertime right now. It's really hot out. I think today's going to be like 90, which for the San Francisco Bay is incredibly hot. No one has air conditioning, right? Like everyone else, down in the Antioch, Pittsburgh, Sacramento, Stockton, everyone out there's got air conditioner. We don't. So if you rake it and you're happy with the general shape that you have, you could just warm out. You could just slide your thumb, your finger across. And that's what I'm saying. Just be smart. If you're pressing and dragging your thumbs constantly, it can really damage the tendons in your thumbs. So I've done that before, along with typing and mouse and keyboard clicks. So just kind of be aware that this does work. But once you get a few strokes on there and then you keep going, it really becomes very nice and skin-like. It's pretty crazy how well this stuff works. I'm getting in here to the abdominal region, come around and the neck. It's all kinds of little extra tendons that run down here from the sternocleidomastoid, the mastoid process. There's a big one here, the head that come to the center of the clavicle, and then there's the ones on the side over here. So yeah, I figured I'd spend some time doing a little bit of anatomy and a little bit of raking. This is my preferred raking tool at the moment. I got a larger hoop guitar wire on one end and a little bit smaller detail guitar wire on the other end. So this way I can get the major surface rakes down. If there's little gaps and holes, I'm kind of filling those as I go and just using my fingers to get it on there. I was playing with the hair during class last night, so this is kind of a hair cap and the mustache. He's got varying results. You know, again, it was really warm out, so it really messed up how the clay would adhere. But over here in the rib cage, this is a really tricky part. So you can separate where the latimus muscle is and where the actual bones of the rib cage, the sartorius. I always mispronounce this one. But I'm just going to create a little separation. I don't think we're going to see them, but I do want to have separation. I'm not going to go like an angle in muscle by muscle. So if you catch yourself, you know, trying to sculpt every rib bone, whatever, if you're not going to see it, you know, you hint at it. It's fine. Leave it. Don't make this any more cumbersome than it needs to be. This is a conceptual sculpt sketch in the muscles of the abdominal region. There's a few more here. He's got like a very compact torso, right? Super squat torso. So fantasy character, so dwarf. One of the reasons I like doing monsters and fantasy creatures, though they don't have to be super precise in measurements. You know, I don't think that excites a lot of us. Kind of slows you down if you have to get more precise. If you're trying to do a likeness of somebody, that is definitely a huge skill to have. It's something I can do. I just don't enjoy it as much. Get the rib cage, bony protrusions, the front of the rib cage right here on each side is pretty pronounced. You can double check that bottom front of the rib cage on your own body. So just check yourself on there. It's the best reference. And so that's about it because I'm going to be doing this, right? Not only am I going to be doing the chest plate, but I'm also going to add clothing and things like that. And we're going to get down and talk about some of the cloth folds. So down here at the thigh, let's see if we can pause for a moment. So right here in the groin, this is pretty tricky. There's usually a little separation right in here. Again, he's going to have a loincloth or some kind of barbarian, kind of, you know, not much on type of wild man costume. So I'll keep that in mind as I go. These little abdominal muscles tend to come around the sides, right up here, up into the obliques. I'm just going to add those back on there. Looks like I might have carved them off the previous ones. And in the groin, the crotch region, I'll just kind of leave that as a connection point. You do want to study, you know, don't be too shy when you get into the crotch region, and you know, gotta know where those all that stuff attaches to the pelvic region. So I'll just give them a little modesty piece there, just to remember that there's something that would be hanging there. And come back around to the side. So right in here is where you really want to dig in these front regions right here, and all these are the Pilates muscles, right? And interspinatus and infraspinatus, and I'm totally saying it wrong, kind of on purpose. I have to have my chart out to memorize all these muscles, but Yeah, it's good to try and memorize the muscles for sure. Uh, make you better, make you faster at this stuff. Um, Going down along the legs here. So the head of the front bony protrusion, the side of the pelvic regions right in here. We want to make sure we accentuate that a little bit more. So I'm going to go on the side here, make sure there's a bony protrusion there. Kind of leave that strip. And same thing right here. Make sure there's a bony protrusion there. And we'll do some belts and furs and garments. Might even give them some pants. We'll see how it goes. It's looking okay. I think up in here in the ribs, I think I started separating there. I could also do the same thing over here and just go in to the rib cage and maybe one by one kind of separate. And I said not to count the ribs, but I'm having a hard time not trying to count uh, these little bones and muscle that are separated here. And it goes out, back again. The latimus, lats come down under here. And anything at this point that is like really still bumpy and lumpy back in here, I would try and do at least a once over, rake over. Now, if this smaller one's not doing the trick, I can switch over to some larger rake tools here that are just going to leave more uh, teeth marks. Can be a little bit more cleanup. But I think two passes is pretty reasonable. Shouldn't be too afraid to say, okay, I want to do this all. Trying to do it one shot's not realistic. Uh, if you really want to see painful process, try marble sculpture or stone sculpture. Talk about the number of times you have to go from one grit to the next, sandpaper and grinding devices all the way down to the final stages. And each stage you find different scratches that don't come out from the other grit. So this raking process with the wax is pretty mellow. Same thing in ZBrush. If you do this, you would have your rough forms, then you'd rake it out for all your detail. And just a reminder for myself here again, the cloak is going to cover all the stuff that I just raked. So I got to stop myself there. Right. I'm doing this for educational purposes. And I got my statue here too, so I can constantly go back and forth and make sure that it's got a little obliques in there still. On the side, over the top of the pelvic girdle. Yeah, this truncated torso is really tricky for a character that's this squat. So, even if you're not doing something that's related that precisely to real anatomy, it could still be a real challenge. The other character I had here was like a gnome. Am I going to get my focus coming in? Or is it going to zoom in and out? There we go. Oh, must have been from moving the other character. It's hard. Can't really watch the monitor as well as I do at all time. It's going okay. All right. The gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, and iliad crest. And that was in the front. Let's get back in here to the tailbone. So this is the gluteus medius, is the upper one, goes up around the side here. And goes in here, connects to the pelvis right there, goes down to the tailbone, smaller and smaller, down there until you get to gluteus maximus down here. And the maximus will go pretty far down the back of the thigh. And as I'm raking the clay, I'll kind of dab it onto my ball here. So I have that to come back to. A little bit more gluteus medius here, the upper part there. And see, it's nice and warm, so I don't do much to it. Go. Yeah, looks like I missed some of it right in there. So the pelvis and missed some more of the oblique. And compression and contortion, doing these poses yourself is super important. You want to see where the muscles are kind of flexing and balling up and where they're kind of stretching and being extended, right? So right in here at the obliques, if he's turning, Gonna have the oblique kind of hanging over a little bit more. For his easy little tiny space between his rib cage and pelvis. Super small obliques, but they're still, they're still pronounced, right? They're still rounded, so I want to try add those in there. Yeah, looking okay. Back around to the front here. And finish up this slot. So this is going to come down like along all the way on the inside. You might see his thighs. See that leg looks like it's been a little bit better formed on the inside side. This one looks like it hasn't quite caught up yet. So, and if I'm not sure, grab my measuring tool, and go there. The other side, yeah, quite a difference. So a lot of both inside here to catch up to that side there. Now, if I go full winter gear with this character and I put some pants on him, then I would stop pretty soon here just to get the general shape close to what we need, and then get the garments on there. So I think I'll do that for this character, just so I can kind of get to that last process, look in the back as well, and then make sure I'm separating the gluteus maximus and gluteus medius again. So the weight bearing hips up here, so I got to keep that in mind as well. This should be coming down a bit more. So push that clay up to the latimus some more. The latimus coming down the side. Should be coming all the way down the side right here. The lower back muscles. And it looks like this side's kind of missing some, so I'm going to add some extra clay. Yeah. So yeah, it turns into a bit of an anatomy lesson too. And we're doing all this shaping. And I can take my rake here. I got the gluteus maximus going down the back of the thigh pretty well here. There is a wrinkle there. Remember, the angle goes down, not up. It comes down right here, around the side, and then same thing over here, although this leg's lower. So I want to carve that in a little bit better. Like that. Off to the side. There we go. And then use my tool to rake up for the gluteus maximus. It goes up here, back down to the back of the hamstring muscles. Here. So I just kind of cup that in. You can see that's where a lot of the muscles missing compared to the other side at least. So I'm going to fill that in some more. So there's a lot of muscle right here on the inside of the thighs. It's very rounded, very prominent. Do squats or lunges. Who's ever done that knows body transformation and bodybuilding is fun. Can be. Rake a little as I go with my big rake. So again, thumb, you could just rub this a few times, heat of the day, and it'll come right out nicely. Give me a little bit more in here, right where it touches the bone and all this. Just that blends together. And same thing over yonder. Here. And I tend to use symmetry with my own hands, proprioception, the sensories we have of our neural system, of our body and space. So if you close your eyes, you can kind of feel proportions sometimes. Makes you feel where your body is in space, where these things that you're working on are, and that does helpful, I find, to have that knowledge. Proprioception is a inner ear and the vestibular system, how we sense our bodies in space and gravity and which way is up, which way is down is also pretty fascinating stuff to study for virtual reality and mixed reality, augmented reality. The way that VR motion sickness works is pretty interesting. Too bad it exists, but it is interesting. Okay, so this leg's forward, right? And this leg's back a little bit. I gave him a really simple stance for the, to keep it easier for as a learning piece, right? If I was to put him in like a battle stance or for a game or something, maybe I would invest a little heavily more into his pose. All this, or just that kind of Conan standing there on the, Rosetta style, which will forever infiltrate all my designs, I suppose. Because yeah, the same problem with this character as the torso with the leg. The legs are so stubby. His arms are huge, these big, long, like oversized arms and shoulders, and super stubby. Like they were even shorter. They were like down to here, like exaggerated, going kind of more cartoony. And I went ahead and extended them in the surgery videos. If you haven't watched that one, to check those out and see how I go back in after the fact and change the anatomy, make his legs a little longer. So I was really having a rough time the first time. He's gonna have boots on. He's gonna have his barbarian winter boots. So yeah, we'll do. I'm gonna go call this almost done here pretty soon, and we'll get straight into the garment design. I'm just gonna measure his feet. This foot looks way shorter than this foot. Yeah, by a lot there. So that's right there. Want to be shy at this point. We got to oh, there's wire there. Aha. That's why. Oh, good to know. Means that oh, here comes Kitty. That means that this has to be extended to match the wires. I could just do snow or something. Hey, Nixie. What you doing, Kitty? Oh, she's gonna get right in here, isn't she? Yeah. You're gonna hit my chip. Yeah, I can hit my mouse, are you? Hmm.